About 6,000 shipwrecks have occurred on the Great Lakes since commercial shipping began there, many caused by the weather. Historically, November has a reputation for some of the most intense storms, and the term November gale is part of the language of those who live and work on and around the lakes. Now this month, cold Canadian air moves south with increasing intensity and frequency as winter approaches, while at the same time high pressure occasionally parks along the eastern seaboard, as it did earlier this week, sending a mild flow north, setting up a temperature contrast that energizes the jet stream, which now dips regularly into the U.S., so lows often intensify as they move from the Great Plains into the lakes. One historic storm that followed such a track occurred this week in 1998, producing 20-foot waves on Lakes Michigan and Superior and setting low-pressure records in Iowa and Minnesota, though the Minnesota record has since been broken. I actually used that storm as an example in my synoptic meteorology class here at Penn State. Another November gale took a similar track this week in 1975, and its waves and winds led to the sinking of the freighter Edmund Fitzgerald on Lake Superior, a tragedy memorialized in a song by Gordon Lightfoot, a tribute to the 29 men who went down with the ship. His haunting lyrics, "Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early," capture how dangerous the lakes can be this time of year. Built in 1958, the Edmund Fitzgerald was a sturdy, 729-foot-long, 75-foot-wide freighter that was the largest ship on the lakes until 1971. The Fitzgerald departed the western tip of Lake Superior the afternoon of November 9, 1975, loaded with 26,000 tons of iron ore, bound for Detroit. Now, with the storm approaching from the southwest, winds initially were from the northeast, so the ship stayed on the north side of the lake because the biggest waves from a northeast wind would be on the south side. By sunrise the next morning, the center of the low was on the UP of Michigan, and the ship was reporting 40-mile-per-hour winds. The ship and the still intensifying storm crossed paths that afternoon, and winds shifted to northwest behind the low. So the ship, now in southeastern Lake Superior, was exposed to larger waves because the wind now had more water to cross. Within hours, the Edmund Fitzgerald was listing, and the captain reported the worst seas he'd ever encountered. Around 7 that evening, the ship sank in hurricane-force gusts and waves to 25 feet, only about 20 miles from land. In 2006, a paper in the Bulletin of the American Meteorological Society re-examined the weather associated with the storm that sank the Edmund Fitzgerald, their detailed computer simulations suggesting that the ship was caught in the most severe part of a storm that comes along only once every 10 to 20 years. 150 years ago, the power of these Great Lakes storms played a key role in shaping American weather history. The great loss of sailors and ships on the lakes due to the weather helped convince Congress and President Ulysses Grant to create in 1870 the forerunner to what is today the National Weather Service. Stay tuned. Our extended forecast is next.